faculty development program on the team Deep Trade Financial Derivative. Today, first session, it's about introduction to commodity derivatives, pricing, trading, and settlement. The session going to be delivered by Dr. S. Vishalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Management Studies, Central University of Tamil Nadu. Let me take the privilege of introducing Dr. S. Vishalakshmi in front of all participants on this program. Dr. S. Vishalakshmi is an Assistant Professor in Management at Central University of Tamil Nadu, India. She is a university rank holder and gold medalist in MBA. She earned her PhD in the area of finance from Bardar University, Coimbatore. She has been in academics for 10 years and has 4 years of overseas domestic industrial experience. She has published 28 research articles in various journals of international repute listed in SSCI, ABS, ABDC, and Scopus. Has presented around 16 research papers in international and national conferences and participated more than 50 workshops and FDPs organized by reputed institutes. She has also conducted several workshops, seminars, conferences, and value-added programs throughout her tenure. She is a member of American Economic Association. She has delivered lecture as a resource person in various training programs. Her area of research is financial market, financial econometrics, machine learning, and deep learning application in finance. Her educational qualification: PhD in finance, MPhil, MBA finance and HR. She is a net qualified candidate in the year 2004. In her credentials, she has PG DHRM from Pondicherry University. And she has an award of secured university rank, as I told you, in MBA Bharatidasan University, Trichy. Received research award from publication in peer-reviewed journal for the year 2015, 16, 17, and 2018 from VIT University, Vellore. So we have such wide experience and renowned research experience of Dr. Vishalakshmi with us. Once again, I welcome you, ma'am, for this today's session, Introduction to Commodity Derivatives. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Now the floor is yours. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sabarirajan sir. Thanks for your nice words and nice introduction. And it is indeed a great pleasure in interacting with you all. Sir, can you make me as a presenter, sir? Sorry, I just closed it. Sir, Sabri sir, can you make me as a presenter?
Yes, already you are a presenter, ma'am. I made you as a presenter already.
No, I'm not able to present the screen, sir.
Please check now.
Okay. Is
Yes,
my screen visible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
Yes. So, dear participants, it is indeed a great pleasure in interacting with you all and with the vast topic of commodity derivatives. But the topic which I'm going to cover today is about the introduction to commodity derivatives. So, before getting into introduction to commodity derivatives, I'll just give the glimpses of what is derivatives. So, derivatives term, so we all know very well, it comes from derived from. So we call it as derivatives means derived from. So it is a financial instrument and its value is being derived from the value of the other asset. So that is why we call it as an underlying. So underlying is an asset. So the value which is being derived from such type of an asset. And for your understanding, derivative is not a product. It is a contract. It derives its value from the changes in the price of the underlying. For example, if you take the value of the gold futures contract is derived from the value of the underlying asset gold. So what could be the underlying? So these are the various underlying assets. So it can be, the underlying assets can be in agriculture commodities, it can be bond, crude oil, precious metals, treasury bills, stocks, interest rates, even foreign exchange rates as well. So when the price of the underlying changes, the value of the derivative also changes. So these are the underlying assets. So when the prices of these assets changes, there is a major impact in the price of the underlying. So this is talking about the characteristics. These are the major characteristics of a financial instrument. Okay, so as we discussed, so when the price of an underlying changes, obviously the value of the derivative also changes here. And other major characteristics is about it requires smaller net investment. So compared to the other instruments, when we start trading with the derivatives, it requires only a smaller net investment. That is, we will be talking about margining system. So with the help of the margin money, you will be able to trade in the commodities, and it is settled at a future date. So this is all the major characteristics of a derivative instruments. So talking about the types of the derivatives. So we know very well futures and options are the major types. So we have a number of types of derivatives, but here we are going to discuss about the futures and options. So options, when we talk about, we have call options and put options. So what is it? So it is talking about a right. So when you buy a derivative, you are buying a right. So in the normal stock market trading, we buy and sell the shares. But in this case, the stock is not traded. Instead, the right to buy or sell a share is traded. So this is about an example. So as I told you already, the right to buy or the right to sell. When you have a right, it can be a right to buy or a right to sell. But one thing you need to understand is the right to buy or a right to sell cannot be held forever. So the exchange is giving you a cut-off date. So before which you have to either exercise your right or sell off the right to the another person. So that is how it happens. So comparatively, the cost of buying right is very less when compared to the actual stock price here. So we are going through with an example here. So in case you hold the right to buy Infosys at rupees 2000 per share today, and you are buying this right for rupees 200. So after a few days, the Infosys shares are trading at rupees 2500. So what was the cost when you bought the right? When you bought the right, it was 2000, but later on it started trading at 2500. But you can buy it at 2000 since you have purchased the right to buy Infosys at that price. So that is actually an advantage for you. So since the price in the cash market is again 2500, you can purchase for 2000 rupees and you can sell the same for 2500. So when you buy for 2000 and you are selling it for 2500, that 500 rupees is your profit. But here you are already making an investment of 200 rupees to buy that return. So you have to take up that. So normally that has given you a return of 300. So the investment of 200 rupees has given you a return of 300. So this was total cost will be 2000 plus 200, 2200 will be the total cost because you are paying for that right as well. So the buyer of a derivative is getting a right over an asset, which is after a certain period of time, it is result in making the buyer to buy or sell the asset. So this is how this options is going on. So this is about the right, because normally when we go for the commodity derivatives, we use these two major types. One is about the futures and options. So we'll see one by one. So before getting into that, so I'll start with this forward contract. So what is this forward contract? So this is generally a trade contract which has been used by the traders to guard against the price volatility. So normally this is I giving you an example here. You are entering into a contract with the farmer to deliver 1000 kilograms of apples at rupees 100 per kilo and 3 months from now. So that is a forward contract. So here the apples are specified asset and 100 per kilo is the specified price and 3 months is the specified future date. So what happens? It is in short a contract between the buyer and a seller. So in such type of contract, always a matter called a risk is present. So there is no performance guarantee that in the forward contract. So that is the reason this is actually the between the buyer as well as the seller. So the buyer and the seller has to fight out, they have to negotiate and they have to sort out. So this is what happening in your forward contracts. Yes, this is about the contract between the buyer and the seller here. So they have to negotiate. So what if one party to the contract does not oblige? Obviously, there is a chances of risk. So with the help of negotiation only, they have to sort out this issue here. And in forward contract, so we know the quantity, the mode of payment, the delivery date, the price, everything varies from one contract to the another. Okay, so it is different from one contract to the other contract, it is different, and the performance of the contract is not guaranteed in case of forward contract. So this would give rise to the problems between the buyer and seller, because the seller does not want to sell at the agreed price and the buyer, he wants to buy. So this problems in order to regulate all these things. So nothing is regulated in forwards. So because it is tailor made and according to the circumstances, so it can be written for any amount and terms. So to overcome this, a contract has been regulated in all these aspects. So the difference between your forward and the futures is that futures are well regulated in all aspects. So compared to your forward contract, so here also everything is specified. As I told you, the forward contract, the quantity, the mode of payment, the delivery date, the price, everything is specified, but it differs from one contract to the other contract. But in case of to overcome all these problems, the future contracts came into existence, and these futures are well regulated in all the aspects. So this future is an agreement between the seller and the buyer to deliver a specified commodity of a specific quantity of a commodity. It can be a commodity, it can be a share, it can be a forex at a fixed time in the future. So at a price between the parties. So here an organization called as your clearing house. So it is standing in between these both the parties and helping them to fulfill their obligations. So these future contracts are issued by the exchange and it can be traded just like the shares. And this contract is having a following features. As we discussed, it is about the specific quantity. So each future contract has a specified quantity and specified date. So the date and the month of the delivery is also determined by the exchange. So as of now, the exchange has fixed the last Thursday of every month for the settlement of the contracts. So this is about your over the counter as well as the exchange traded. So an exchange is a central marketplace for buyers and sellers of the different asset class. And this OTC is an alternative trading platform and which is linked to a network of dealers. So here what happens, they do not physically meet, but instead they communicate through a network of computers so as well. And coming to the difference between this OTC and exchange traded, as I told you, this OTC forward contracts, and here we have future contracts, and this is counterparty risk. So the risk has to be borne by the buyer or the seller here, and here the exchange is assuming the risk, and the terms of contract is changeable. So that is about forward contract, because from one contract to the other contract it has been different, but here the terms and conditions, everything is being defined by the exchange. Okay. And poor liquidity, because there are few players, and here there is a high liquidity since we have many number of players, and no margin money is dealt in the case of forward contracts, but here we have the margins, we are dealing only with the margins, And this is about the relationship between the price and the time, what priority is given. So it is based on the price and the time that orders is being executed, and it is actually exchange traded is a standard structure. It is following a standard structure when compared to your OTC. So this is about your derivatives. So now moving on to the commodity derivatives. So before getting into commodity derivatives, I'll just give you an overview about commodities. So talking about the commodities, it is a product which is having a commercial value and which can be produced, bought, sold, and consumed. So this doesn't have any qualitative difference across markets. That is why we call it is having a nature of fungibility. Okay, so when we term as the commodities, we have soft commodities, that is the grown commodities like corn, wheat, soya bean, oil, sugar, everything. But in case of hard commodities, it is being extracted through mining. So gold, oil, aluminium, etc. So this is all about your hard commodities. So commodity market is a wider concept, and it has been categorized into agriculture, precious metals, base metals, energy sector, and other commodities. So these are the four major sectors here: commodities, agriculture. So under agriculture, we have spices, cereals, pulses, fiber, oil seeds, and metals. So we have precious metals as well as the base metal classifications here. So gold, silver, uranium, tin, copper, aluminium. And coming to the energy classifications, we have crude oil, natural gas, carbon credit. And there is one another emerging area is also about your new commodities, plastic, weather, and electricity, all about. But talking about the major concept of commodity worldwide is about your agriculture, precious metal, base metal, energy sector as well. See here, this when we talk about the markets, the raw or the primary products are exchanged, and this is one of the most volatile markets to trade in. So here, the raw commodities are traded on the regulated. These commodities are traded on the regulated commodity exchanges. So it is a place where trading in commodities takes place, like buying and selling is taking place in the exchanges, and it is allowing the global investors to make or lose money by predicting the rise or fall of the primary commodities here. So fortunes are literally made and it has been lost within the day. That is what happening. So when we trade with all these commodities. So unlike the stocks, the commodities do not cease to exist. So because unless the resource has been completely depleted here, and there are change in the value happens. So this may be the commodities, but the change in the value may be due to some political turmoil or cultural shifts, whatever may be the reasons here. So this is about your classifications of your commodities, which is being traded. And actually what is traded on the commodity exchange is about commodity contracts, futures, and options. Commodity contracts, as I told you, it is not a product. So what we are going to deal with your commodity contracts, and another thing is about your futures and options. So why do we need commodity contracts? So I told you the thing which we are going to trade in commodity exchange is about your commodity contracts. So this is a place where commodity trading takes place. And why do we require this commodity contracts? So one is about managing the risk, and other aspect is about price discovery. So talking about managing the risk. So here the traders or participants, they can hedge their risk to protect themselves from the adverse price movements. So I'll give you an illustrations at the end, hedging with futures. So to protect themselves from the adverse price movements. And talking about the price discovery, and again this is about based on the demand and supply, and other factors can also influence the price of the commodities. And this discovered price will be agreed upon both the buyer as well as the seller here. And the future price is the leading price indicator. Actually, based on that only, the market is, the trends are shown in the market. So price discovery is happening with the help of these future prices. And here, talking about the history and the global commodity exchange. So this is about the history or various global commodity exchanges we have. See, the evolution and the growth of the commodities market in India has shown an impressive record of performance. So this discusses the contours of the development of the commodity market both in India. You can see the market in India and at the global level as well. So we have Chicago Board of Trade and Chicago Mercantile Exchange, New York Mercantile Exchange, London Metal Exchange, Dalian Commodities Exchange, Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange, Sydney Futures Exchange, and multi-commodity exchanges. So these are the exchanges, international commodities exchanges. So I'll just give you an overview about these exchanges. So talking about the CME, that is about your Chicago Board of Trade. So this was established in the year 1848 to bring the farmers and the merchants together. So initially, its main task was to standardize the quantities and qualities of the grains that were traded. That was the main task. So this Chicago Mercantile Exchange was established in 1919, and CME and CBOT, that is about your Chicago Board of Trade, they have merged to form the CME group. So not only CME and CBOT, and we do have New York Mercantile Exchange. So in 2008, it also merged with the New York Mercantile Exchange and COMEX as well. So now under the CME group, we are having CBOT, that is about your Chicago Board of Trade, then New York Mercantile Exchange, and COMEX also. So everything comes under the CME group. So this CME group is offering the wide range of global benchmark products across all the major asset classes. This is including your futures and options, interest rates, equity indexes, foreign exchange, energy, agricultural commodities, metals, weather, real estate as well. So this is about your CME group. And the next is about your London Metal Exchange. So other major exchange is about your London Metal Exchange. So this exchange was formed in 1877. So as a direct consequence of the Industrial Revolution, which has witnessed in Britain in the 19th century here. So here, talking about your London Metal Exchange, it is the world's premier non-ferrous markets, so which is having a high liquid contracts as well. So this exchange is providing a transparent forum for all the trading activities, and as a result, it is helping to discover the price that the commodity will attract in the few months as well as years later. So it is a global market with an international membership. So it is having more than 95% of its business coming from the overseas. So this Hong Kong exchanges and clearing, everything acquires LME in the year 2012. So it is a world's premier non-ferrous markets. So which is having a high liquid contracts, London Metal Exchange. Then, okay, moving on to the Chinese exchanges. So here in Chinese exchanges, we have Shanghai Commodity Exchange, Dalian, and Zhengzhou. So this rank among the largest commodity exchange in the world. So these three exchanges, so DCE, Dalian Commodity Exchange, it was founded on February 28, 1993. So on the trading volumes, this DCE, Dalian Commodity Exchange, was the largest commodity derivatives exchange in the world as on 2019. Okay, so even the Shanghai Futures Exchange was founded in 1998. So it was formed with the merger of Shanghai Metal Exchange, Shanghai Cereals, and Oil Exchange. So everything has been merged and it has come emerged as the Shanghai Futures Exchange. So this tells about the phenomenal growth that the Chinese exchange have registered in these recent years, Shanghai Commodity Exchange. And another exchange is about your Zhengzhou. So it is the first experimental future market. So under the vertical management of the China Securities Regulatory Commission. So it is having the fully functional electronic system here. So these exchanges, they introduce new types of future contracts. So that has never been listed before in any other exchanges here. And the next is Sydney Futures Exchange. Yes. So this began in 1960 as the Sydney Greasy Wool Futures Exchange, and by 1964 it has become one of the world's leading wool futures market. Sydney Futures Exchange. This is about Sydney. And the next is about Tokyo Commodity Exchange. So it is a significant commodity futures exchange in the world, which trades with that deals with metals and the energy contracts. So what happens is this Tokyo Commodity Exchange, it took towards establishing Asia as the benchmark for the price discovery and as well as for the risk management in commodities like Middle East crude oil. And coming to the top traded commodities, so we have, these are the exchanges. I think we have already discussed about these exchanges and the commodities, top traded commodities in all these exchanges. So New York Mercantile Exchange, we have crude oil, natural gas, gold, and CBOT. We have corn, soybean, wheat, soybean oil, and ICE, and this sugar, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and CME. We have live cattle, hogs, feeder cattle, and Shanghai Futures Exchange, copper, rubber, fuel, oil, zinc, and aluminium. And coming to the Dalian Commodity Exchange, we have soya meal, soya oil, soya beans, palm oil, all these things comes under Dalian. And under Shengzhou, we have sugar, pure, wheat, cotton, rapeseed oil, terephthalic acid, everything. And coming to the ICE futures, we have Brent oil, WTI, World Texas, gas oil, natural gas, and LME. We have having aluminium, copper, zinc, nickel, lead. And coming to the Tokyo commodity exchanges, and the most top traded commodities is about gold, platinum, rubber, and gasoline. So these are the top traded commodities in all these exchanges. Coming to the commodity market participants. So we have the players in the commodity market. So hedgers, speculators, arbitrators. So hedger is someone who faces the risk associated with the price movement. That is, he is using this derivative as a means to reduce his risk. And the practice of offsetting the risk. So hedging is nothing but offsetting. So this position, the position in the spot market can be squared off with the future market. So the practice of offsetting the price risk inherent in any cash market position by taking the opposite position in the futures market. So if you buy in the spot market, and you can buy and sell in the futures market, and you can square off it. So hedgers use this market for the purpose of protecting their business from any adverse movements. So this type of activity is giving an economic balance to the market. So normally the hedgers are the farmers can be the hedgers, producers, intermediaries, merchandisers, exporters, importers as well. Then coming to the speculators. So a speculator is a trader who enters the futures market for the purpose of profits, and he accepts the risk in his endeavors. So speculators, they wish to bet on the future movements in the price of an asset, because this type of activities provide liquidity as well as all the depth to the market as well. And other player is your arbitrator. So he's a person who simultaneously enters into the transactions in two or more markets to take the advantage of the discrepancies between the prices in these markets. So they help in bringing about price uniformity as well as the price discovery also. So if the price of the same asset is different in two markets, there will be the operators, that is your arbitrators. They will buy in one market and the asset, and it's the cheap one in the other market, and where it is costly. So buying in one market and selling in the other market. So this arbitrages, they also help to make the market liquid. They ensure the accurate and uniform pricing as well, and enhance the price stability here. So buying in one market and selling in the other market. So wherever the asset is cheap, say they buy, and then again they sell in the market where they get more price compared to the purchased price. So this arbitrages is taking the advantages of two different markets here. So these are your major players in the commodity market. Now before moving on to this commodity derivatives, this is your overview about your commodity derivatives market. So we all know very well, commodity markets have been in existence for centuries. So that is, it has been in existence because of the efforts of the commodity producers, users, investors to manage their business as well as the financial risks. And commodity markets are a good source of critical information as well. And these commodities are frequently used as an input in the production of goods or services, because we know very well it has been associated with the uncertainty as well as the volatility in the commodity prices. So this is just making the environment erratic as well as unpredictable too, and it is subject to the unforeseeable risks as well. So today, this commodity derivatives market is global, and it includes both exchange traded as well as the over-the-counter derivatives contracts. So I think we have already discussed about this exchange traded as well as over the derivative contracts. So when we talk about this, the world's first commodities, so we are talking about the commodity derivatives market, but coming to the world's aspects, the world's first commodities arose from the agriculture practices, that is like from your crop production and raising the livestock as well. So as trading developed, the producers and the dealers, they started looking for the ways to preserve the price of their products. So, and like factors such as we know weather, supply and demand, everything is having an influence, havoc on the pricing. So in addition, the supplies can become plentiful, and in that case for commodities we need storage. The storage becomes necessary, and the merchants have sought many ways to raise their money for the product for being sold. So based on all these aspects only, this has given rise to the future agreements. So this is how the future agreements has begun. So coming to the major events which has shaped the derivatives market. Yes, about your rice futures in China 6,000 years ago. So we had so many problems to get rid of it. And before 6,000 years ago, that was started with rice futures. And later on, we had the forward agreement related to the rice markets in the 17th century in Japan. And the first future contracts, it has been traced to Yodhya rice market in Osaka, Japan around 1650. The history of the future markets are concerned was creation of the Chicago Board of Trade in 1848, and the group of traders created two-arrive contract, which permitted farmers to lock in the price and deliver the grain later. Contracts were eventually standardized around 1865, and in 1925, the first future clearing house was formed. So this is the major events which has derived or shaped your derivatives market. And coming to the evolution, this is about the evolution of India's commodity market. Okay, so first starting with this Bombay Cotton Trade Association Limited in 1875. So they have organized trading in commodity derivatives, and which was initiated in India with the setup of Bombay Cotton Trade Association Limited in 1875. Then came your Gujarat Vyapari Mandali, and it was set up in 1900 to carry out the futures trading in groundnut, castor seed and cotton as well. And this parliament has passed Forward Contracts Act 1952 to promote and develop the commodity derivatives trade in the country. And in 1960s, what happened? So it was a year of severe drought, and which has forced many farmers to default on their forward contracts, and which even led to the suicides also. So this made the government to ban the forward trading. So after a few years, I mean later years, the government reviewed its decisions on this trade ban, which happened earlier, and they appointed certain committee. That committee is your Dantwala Committee and the Khusro Committee. So in 1966, Dantwala Committee and Khusro Committee in 1980 to review and monitor, and later on they lifted the ban which was imposed earlier. Then the government has set up a committee in 1993, that is Professor K.N. Kabra Committee, to re-examine the role of the future trading. So what happened? This is actually remarkable. This committee has recommended allowing futures trading in 17 commodity groups. And later on, the SEBI has set up a 24-member committee, so under the chairmanship of Dr. L.C. Gupta on November 18, 1996, to develop the appropriate regulatory framework for the derivatives trading in India. So derivative trading commenced in India in June 2000, and the SEBI permitted this derivative segments of these two exchanges, BSE as well as NSE, and their clearinghouse corporations to commence the trading and settlement in the approved derivatives. So on September 28, 2050, what happened is this FMC, the Forward Market Commission, was merged with the Securities Exchange Board of India. So now the Securities Exchange Board of India is regulating the commodity derivative market in India since 28 September 2050. So this is the hierarchy, how it is happening here. So under SEBI, we have commodity exchanges and commodity derivatives. So commodity derivatives, about commodity futures, about all these categories: agriculture, base metal, precious metal, and energy. And coming to the national commodity exchanges, we have MCX, NCDX, BSE, NSE, NMCE, okay, national multi-commodity exchanges. So this is about your major national commodity exchanges. So before getting in for the trading, pricing, and about the delivery aspects, I'll just give you the discussions about the terminologies which has been dealt with the futures options. Then we'll move on to the process. So I hope you might have known very well about this, but this is a glimpse about the future terminologies. So spot price, so the price at which an instrument or the asset trades in the spot market. So that is your spot price here. And your future price, so the price at which the future contract trade in the future market. So actually we are the pricing which we are using is the cost of carry model. So when we talk about your future price, spot price plus cost of carrying, this is how it is happening in the future price. The pricing strategy is about your cost of carry model. So cost of carrying is the storage cost, insurance, transport cost, finance cost, everything included. This is about your future price. So spot price is which is the price traded in the spot market. But when we talk about your future price, not only the spot price, but also we are including the cost of carrying. Okay, we call it as a cost of carry model here. And the expiry date, so it is the date which is being specified in the futures contract. And contract size, the amount of the asset that has to be delivered and not to be less than one contract. So this is about your contract size. And talking about the positions, long position and short position. So the party who agrees to buy in the future is said to hold a long position, and vice versa is a short position. So the party who agrees to sell in the future is holding a short position in the contract. So long position. So what is how this long position is agreeing to buy. So he is buying. The first step is buying the future contract now and selling the contract on the maturity. That is squaring of the open position. So buy now and sell later. So that is about your long position. So long position means who agrees to buy in the future. When we talk about the short position, it is about who agrees to sell in the future, holds a short position in the contract. So it is giving short, similar to your trading activities, you would have come across short selling aspect, right? Similarly, it is about your short position. You are selling the future contract now and you are buying a future contract on the maturity of the contract for the purpose of squaring of the open position. So when you buy and if you don't close, again it is in open, and if you sell and if you don't close, again it is an open position. So we are squaring off these open position. So when you go for buy and sell, that becomes your long position, and when you move for sell and buy, that becomes your short position here. And coming to the we were talking about the contract size, so it should not be less than one. Similarly, we will be talking about the contract cycle too. So contract cycle, for example, this future contract is having a maximum of 3-month trading cycle. It is having a maximum of 3 months.
Hello, I'm sorry to interrupt you in between.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you just tell me again this meaning of square off, please?
Yeah, I'll come. No problem. You're talking about this square off, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
See, squaring off is, see, normally, madam, you are exposed to stock trading, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam, you are exposed to stock trading, right? So what do we do in stock trading? So in case of intraday, if you go in for the intraday, I'll give you an example of intraday and delivery. When we go for the stock trading, there is a two positions. Either you can trade in intraday or you can go in for the delivery aspect. So even in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
intraday, in case of intraday, you have two options: buy and sell and buy. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
You can buy the stock and you can sell the stock. Same way, you can buy and you can sell. That becomes your long positions. In the terms of here in commodity derivatives, this is talking about your long position. So buying the future contract now and you can sell it. So in intraday morning, if you're buying the position and before 3:30 p.m., you have to sell the position. Okay, so that is an open position and you are squaring off the open position. If you don't square off, what happens is automatically the system will square off.
Okay, okay,
Because
ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
you go for an option of intraday, the system will wait for your order till 3:30 and it will see whether it has been executed. So you may would have purchased it for 300 rupees in the morning, okay, and you will be waiting for 310 rupees to sell. But till 3:30, the system will wait for you. And before that, if the price reaches to 330, I mean, price reaches to 310, the system will execute it. Okay, it is squared off. If not, what happens is automatically the system will square off.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Whatever the price at 3:30, whatever is the price, it will not wait because you are waiting for 310. But at the time of ending at 3:30, if it is 305 or even 255, the system will square it off. So it is like closing the position. You are already having an open position and the position has to be squared off. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, this is similar to that short selling also. Okay, you sell in the morning and you have to buy before 3:30 p.m. So this is for your stock market. And similarly here, when we deal with the contracts, we are dealing with the contracts here. So you are buying the contracts and you should sell the contract. That is what squaring off. And when you sell a contract, so after a particular period of time, you have to buy the contract, and that this is open position. Only if one step is done, the position is open still. You have to square off that position. Ma'am, I'm clear, ma'am.
Clear.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, this is about contract cycle. So we were talking about a futures contract. We are talking about futures contract. We were talking about your long position and we were talking about your short position. And now, for example, if that future contract is having a maximum of 3 months. So same thing, I think same thing I will apply for the previous example also. See, if he is buying in the January, he has to sell it in the March. That is your selling the contract. And if he is selling in the January, he has to buy it in the March. So this is about your squaring of the position. The same thing in the 3-month cycle. Okay, we call it as a near month contract, next month contract, and far month contract. So the in 3 month, first month will be treated as a near month, and the second month is your next month, and the third month is the far month. It is a name given to it. Okay, in the case of 3-month expiry cycle, that expires on the last Thursday of the month here. Near month, next month, and far month. This is how it happens for the 3-month trading cycle. Okay, so based on this near month, next month, and far month, again we have categorizing the markets. We call it as a contango market and backwardation market. So if the price of the far month future is higher than the near month future, we call it as a contango market. Far month. What is far month? Far month is your third month. So if the price of your far month futures contract is higher than the near month futures contract, we call that market as a contango market. And backwardation is vice versa. If the price of the far month futures contract is lower than the near month future contract, we call such market as a backwardation market. So normally in commodity derivatives, we will be pointing out how is the market. So whether it is a contango market or it is a backwardation market. So this is the simple identification. If your price of the far month is higher than the near month, it is contango, and vice versa is your backwardation market here. This is about your contract cycle. And this is about your option terminologies. So this is about your call and put options. We have types of option. So the call giving the right to buy the stock by a certain date for a certain price, and the put is giving the holder to sell the stock. That is, this is right. Okay, so it is not an obligation to buy or sell, but it is just giving you a right. If it is giving you a right to buy, we call it a call option, and if it is giving you a right to sell, we call it as a put option here. So right to sell the stock by a certain date for certain price here, and the premium is cost of options. So we were talking about earlier, we saw with an example, with the amount of rupees 200, we are able to buy and sell. So we're talking about your cost of the options, premium. The next is strike price. So it is a price at which an option contract gives the right, the holder to buy or sell. And what other terminologies is included is about your expiration date. So final date of options can be exercised, and the volatility, we talk about the risk factor of the option. So these are the various terminologies which has been associated with your futures market as well as your option market. So with this, I'm moving on to the mechanism of your futures market. So here comes the process of trading, clearing, and settlement as well. So in trading aspect, so we have a market order, limit order, and stop order. So these are the three types of order based on the price conditions. And coming to the trade timings. So before getting into that, I will just give the overview of the trade timings. So in case of agri commodities, the timing is 9 to 5 p.m. trade timings. And if it is bullion, metals, crude oil, and if it is internationally linked agri commodities, the timing has been categorized, and 9 to 11:30 p.m. in case of summer, and it will be 9 a.m. to 11:55 p.m. in case of winter. And coming to the internationally linked agri commodities, it is from 9 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. So these are your trade timings. So if you wanted to trade, and these are the major types of orders based on the price conditions. Market order. So what is market order? So you can buy or sell immediately at the best available counter price. So if you wanted to make a buy or a sell, it will, in case if you're choosing the option as a market order, it will be executed at the market price. And the same thing is about limit order. It is an order to buy or the sell at a specific price. So limit order is limiting the price. So as I told you in that particular example we were talking about, you buy something in the morning at 300 rupees, and you give a sell order, that is a limit order stating that I wanted the profit of 10 rupees. So you are instructing a system to sell at 310. So this is some type of your limit order. This is about your limit order. And there is one more order is about your stop order as well. So this stop order is a market order, and that will remain unelected. So without entering the order book. So it will be there until the stop price is reached. So once it is elected, it will be treated similar to the regular market order. This is order types based on price conditions, and there are time related orders also. We'll see that. Since we are moving in for the trading, so these are the orders about day order. So any order to buy or sell which automatically expires if not executed on that day. Okay, so that order is placed. So that we call it as your day order. The next is about GTC, the good till cancel. So any order buy or sell which lasts until the order is completed or cancelled by the user. What happens is this order automatically gets expired on the expiry day of the contract. That is about your good till cancelled. The next is good till date. So this is again GTD orders. So these orders are cancelled at the close of the market on the specified day. That is about your GTD on the specified day. The next is about IOC. We call it as immediate or cancel. So an order requiring that all or part of the order to be executed immediately after it has been brought to the market. So any portions not executed becomes immediately or cancelled. So any portions are not executed immediately or cancelled. That is what immediate or cancel. So this is all the options given. So when you get in for the trading, so these options will be available. So based on these options, the system will take that instructions. Another thing is about AON, all or none. This AON order, it works to safeguard your purchase by providing the guarantee that you either receive full quantity that you requested or none at full. So if full quantity is not available, what happens is the order gets expired. So all or none. So this is all about your time related orders. And what other aspects? So reading of the market data on futures. So other terms is like open interest. So last day's open interest plus change in the today's open interest. So when we talk about the open interest, it is about the total number of outstanding contracts. So that will be shown there, and the number of contracts and the traded values, that is traded value is equal to your trading volume into value weighted average price. So that is about your traded value, volume weighted, value weighted average price. And what other thing is about expiry cycle? I think we have already discussed about the expiry cycle. So how many months? So open price will be there, high, and the settle and changes is also there. That is previous day settlement price and today's settlement price, and lifetime high and low. And not only this, you have circuit filters as well. So circuit filters are used as your risk management tools here. So this is about the terminologies related to your futures market. And next is coming to the settlement. So we will see this settlement aspect. So settlement is one is about your cash settlement and delivery settlement. So settlement by reverse contract. So before final settlement on the expiry as well as before expiry, and MTM settlement. So we will see this one by one. What is all those things? So cash settlement is payment of cash and making the settlement. Delivery. So since it is a commodities, if you are going in for the delivery settlement, you have to take up the delivery of the goods. And talking about your MTM settlement, so this is dealing, before going to that MTM settlement, this is about your margin money. So as I told you already, the major characteristics of a derivative is with the help of a small net investment, you will be able to trade here. So you would be required to maintain a small deposit. It is called as a margin with the broker. So the margin is decided by the exchange, and this margin amount keeps varying with the changes in the daily prices. Okay, so based on the prices and based on the values, there is an impact in this margin amount, and this balance in the margin amount is also adjusted to reflect your daily settlement. Okay, so this margin is minimizing the possibility of loss through a default on the contract. So what happens is, if the price goes up, the buyer's margin is reduced and the seller's margin is increased by an equal amount. And similarly, if the price comes down, the buyer's margin is increased and the seller's margin is reduced by an equal amount. So there will have an impact in the prices. So based on this, the margin amount will be differing. And we are having three major types of margins. One is about your initial margin, next is maintenance margin, and variation margin. So coming to the initial margin, so initial margin is the deposit which has been required to maintain either a short or a long position in the future contract. That is about your initial margin. Yes, short or a long position. In order to have that, you need an initial margin. Another margin required is your maintenance margin. So maintenance margin is the amount of initial margin. So that must be maintained for that position before a margin call is generated. The next, coming to the variation margin. So the additional funds deposited to make up to the initial margin. This is about your variation margin. And the next is we were talking about MTM. MTM, this is about your mark to market. Mark to market. So after the market closes, the system recalculates the margin requirements for the outstanding position of a member at the end of the trading day. So that is outstanding quantity into daily closing price. So MTM settlement, we call it as mark to margin. So the system is calculating based on the outstanding positions at the end of the trading day. And this MTM calculator is adjusted with the previous day's net position. That is, the difference is settled through a pay-in and payout process also. Okay, so it has been calculated and it is adjusted with the previous day's net position. So this is about your MTM settlements, and this is the chart how it is happening. So as I told you already, here an organization called as a clearing house. So they are taking up the responsibility between this buyer and the seller, so affecting timely settlement. And this is how the physical system of delivery, physical settlement as well as financial settlement of all the contracts is happening. So this clearing house is collecting the margin from the members. Okay, they affect the pay-in and the payout, and not only that, they monitor the delivery and settlement as well. So it performs all the activities like delivery, fund settlement, margining, managing the settlement. So all these things has been carried out by them. So this clearing house, they allocate deliveries which it has received from the selling member to the buyer, and same is binding on the buyer as well. So that is the job this clearing house is doing on. And not only that, the clearing house, they maintain a register of custodians, banks, trust companies and other firms to act on behalf of the members in giving and taking the delivery of the precious metals. So here the clearing house is responsible only for the contracts executed on the trading system of the exchange, and which comes under the bylaws of the exchange as well. And like the clearing, so we saw the aspects of trading, clearing, and we have settlement and delivery as well. So these are the various aspects which has been dealt with the delivery. So delivery lot, so everything has been specified in the contract. I will just show you a model contract with all these process. So once if you understand this terminologies, with the use of this terminology, this contract has been executed. So delivery lot, delivery centers where it has been located, and delivery period margins is also been mentioned, and quality specifications. Okay, about the quality, delivery order. So here it will clearly state the contract's particulars, including the quantity, quality, delivery center, and where the goods are stored, everything. And delivery period is talking about your specified delivery month, which month the delivery is happening, specified month of delivery. Then delivery logic. So here delivery logic is they're having various options. Okay, like your seller's option, or seller can decide. When you go for a delivery logic, there are I think two types of options. One is seller option, another one is compulsory delivery, and you can have the both the option. When you choose the seller's option, it is based on the seller's choice, and compulsory delivery, you have to go for compulsory delivery, and both the options can be chosen as well. And in case of delivery process, okay, so delivery process, we have vault, insurance, everything is being dealt in the delivery process. So I'll just show you a model of contract. Okay, so this is the contract specifications of gold. This is how the contract is made. So for example, this is for gold, you can see here. So this is about 10 pages. This contract is about 10 pages, and everything has been described here. Description, you have description and how it is listing, and the start day of the contract and the last trading day. And if it is an holiday, the exemption is given based on that, and the trading period and trading session. This is actually for particularly for gold. And what is the trading unit, and what is your base value, and talking about your quotations, order size, tick size, and price limit. And we were talking about the margins. So initial margin, it is 4% based on spam. Spam is a software. Okay, and the extreme loss margin also 1% has been allocated. And you can see here about your delivery unit, and we have delivery period margin, delivery centers. Since it is an MCX contract, here they have designated a clearing house. It is at Ahmedabad, and additional delivery centers. So we were talking about all these things in the process, what all should be included. And quality specifications, I was telling you about the quality specification. Since this contract is about a gold, and the specification is about 995 purity. So everything is clearly mentioned in the contract. So this is about the contract. And delivery logic. Here the delivery logic, can you see here? Compulsory. So compulsory delivery. Delivery logic is compulsory. If you get into the contract of all these things, there should be compulsory delivery. And what is the other logic? Other logic is the seller option, or it can be both options, anything, compulsory delivery or seller option. So now here in this case, the delivery logic is compulsory delivery. So for that, the tender period is mentioned, delivery period is mentioned, everything is mentioned here. You can see the interest, period margin, and the tender period margin, as well as the delivery period margin here. So 3%, 5%. So everything is clearly mentioned. The pay-in, see, even the delivery pay-in, it has to be T+1. So here you can see here pay-in date, T+1, it is mentioned here. You can see here what it is happening. And here the clearing house is MCX CCL. This is the clearing house, MCX CCL. So funds pay-in, everything is specified. Pay-in is T+1. So normally for stock market, we have T+2. Okay, trading day plus 2 days. So here it is T+1. Funds payout and delivery payout. Everything is mentioned. Everything is clearly given in this contract. All these terminologies or everything has been specified in this contract. I'm just, for want of time, I'm scrolling it out. I will just share you this contract as well. So delivery centers, and about the taxes, duties, and we are talking about this vault insurance transportation. This is about your delivery process, how it is happening, who is taking up the responsibilities. So everything is also mentioned. So payout date, it has been borne by the seller, and validation process, delivery process, quality adjustments, and this is about endorsement of delivery. In case on behalf of you, if somebody is taking up the delivery, that endorsement details is also given. So everything is mentioned, very clearly specified, all the terms and conditions. So with the help of this contract, I think you will have a very clear idea about how the processing is happening. And for futures market, I was talking about your cost and carry, and you all know for options, we are not going much into that. For options, we have your binomial pricing as well as your Black-Scholes model. And yeah, I'll just show you an example with this. We were talking about hedging the positions, right? Squaring off. I think one participant was asking about what is square off. And this is about hedging with the futures. So this is an illustration here. So I'll just give you a glimpse about what is this situation. So this Gold Box company, it is a company which is getting into their jewelry design business, and it has been competing in the overseas market. Not only overseas market, it is having a very good market. So earlier they were not storing up their gold bars for making the jewels, but now they wanted to buy and store the gold bars. So now for that process, they are getting into the transactions of both your spot market, that is the futures platform, as well as to your physical market here. Madam, I'm sorry, somebody was asking me about this long squaring of position. Who's that?
Yes, ma'am. Richa Sharma. Yes, ma'am. I
Yes,
was
ma'am.
asking.
Yes, ma'am.
Query.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I'm giving you an example for this, ma'am. You can just look into this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this is, as I told you already, this is a gold box company. They wanted to purchase the gold bars and they wanted to store. Okay, so they required the gold bars raw materials and they wanted this for an actual use in the mid-March. So they wanted in the month of mid-March here, and their consumption is 80 kg. That is all apart. Okay, so just to understand this, this is about an scenario where going long. So what is going long? You buy now, you sell at the later date, right? So you buy a future contract now and you are selling the future contract and the later date to square off the open position. Here you see the scenario. If the prices were to rise, so we will think that compared to the January price, the price in the March has gone up. So that is what the situation if the prices were to rise. Okay, what is happening here? Can you see here? This is your futures platform and this is your physical market and this is your gold spot price and your gold future price here. So in January, the spot price is 29,186 and in the month of March, the price is 30,900. This is in your spot market, that is your cash market, right? Spot price. Now coming to the future platform, this is about your futures. So 27,842 in the month of January and 30,202 in the month of March here. Okay. So now what is happening here? In futures platform, now you are buying a contract. You are buying a contract on 1st January and you are selling the contract in the month of March in future. In physical market, now you are buying only in the month of March. In physical market, because you need actual uses in the mid-March only. So you are buying only in the month of March in the physical market. Now, instead of buying in the physical market, not instead of buying, so you wanted to buy in the physical market. For that, you are trying to hedge your position. So already you have entered into a contract in the month of January there. So what happens is you have purchased for 27,842. This is your future market, right? You have purchased for 27,842 and now you have sold it for 30,202. Can you see here? You have purchased for 27,842 and you have sold it for 30,202. So what is the difference? The difference is 2,360 rupees. So it is actually a profit because you purchased for 27,000 and you sold it for 30,000. Now you have ended up with the profit. But instead of going in for your future platform and buying the future contracts, if you have purchased only in the month of March, the cost price is 30,900. Okay, since you have already received a profit of 2,360, now you are deducting this and your net purchase price becomes 28,540. This is your net purchase price. So can you see here? If you are dealing only with this cash market, the price of that gold would have been 30,900. But you have already hedging the position and you started doing with the futures contract. So now your purchase price has been reduced to 28,540. I hope I'm clear with this. So you are buying 27,000, you are selling here, you got a profit. Now in physical market, you are buying it for 30,900. So already received profit can be deducted from this price. Now your actual purchase is only for 28,540. This is for one unit. It depends on the number of units you purchase it. Okay. For 10 grams, this is the price, but number of contracts if you make, so based on that your profits is also determined. So similarly, this is in the case of the price were to rise. Now this is the case of price were to fall. Madam, can you just try this, madam? Madam, I'm sorry,
Yes,
I'm not aware of your name. Yes, ma'am. Can you try this scenario, madam?
Yes, ma'am. Here, ma'am, with the futures contract, we can buy it for 27,842,
Yes, ma'am.
and the selling position would be with this 27,300. But here we are incurring a loss of 542 instead of profit in the earlier scenario.
Correct.
And whereas in the spot market, if we're going for this, then we would have been purchased it for 27,900. So that net
27,900.
yes, yes. So the net purchase price which we are going to have, that is 27,900 plus 542, because we are incurring a loss, but that's why we are adding it. In the earlier we deducted it because we were just purchasing it like with the profit, but here we are incurring a loss, so that's why we are just adding this loss here. So we are just purchasing it for 28,442.
Yes, madam. Thank you, madam. So this is what about hedging in the future market. Okay. So since if you are dealing only with the physical market, there are chances of plus and minus as well. But here the future market is hedging. But in the previous case, the price were in the rising position, so that you were able to make a profit. But here the price were to fall. That is where you are incurring the loss here. So this is about your hedging, and this is about your going long. This is about your going long position, and this is about your going short position. I think this situation we will discuss about this and we'll wind up, madam. Can somebody else try this going short? The similar example I've given it for the going short. Can somebody make a try? Yes, madam. If you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am, I'm trying here.
Yes, ma'am. You make a try, ma'am. This is about short, going short. Ma'am, could you tell me what is short, madam?
No, ma'am, I'm just trying to recall it.
Ma'am,
Okay. Short is about selling
short
and
is
buying. The first
sell.
step is to
Shorting,
sell the.
going short,
Yes, ma'am.
going short is to sell, madam.
Yes.
And
First step is to sell.
if there is if the trend is for the prices to fall, then what I can do is, expecting the future fall, I can enter into a contract and I can freeze the price, so that in the future, if the prices go down, I can buy at a lower rate, and then I can sell at the predetermined price or the agreement that I have entered into. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Correct, ma'am. Ma'am, can you come with this example, ma'am? Absolutely right, ma'am.
Actually, the scenario 3 you have mentioned, and the screen price is like 26,900, ma'am. It's not very clear to me.
Okay, fine.
It is.
Yeah, correct only, ma'am. 26,900 only, ma'am.
Mentioned future 26,900. It is okay, madam. I will try. It
Yes,
is
ma'am.
like
Please,
I have entered into sell on 1st January 2020. We will take at 26,900, and the market is in a downward trend. And what I will do is 31st March, I'm going to buy at 25,700, and I'm going to square off at 26,900. The difference is the profit that I'm going to make. Profit is 1,200 is the profit. This is squaring off when the market is downward trend. Am I right, ma'am?
Yeah. Correct, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
now,
madam.
how it is being hedged with the cash market, madam? You said this is about squaring off, right? So now, again, there is a scenario. Can you just look into that? This is about, we are talking about the hedging position. Yeah.
Okay. Here the buying price given is 25,950. Am I right? Am I seeing it clearly?
25,950. Correct, ma'am.
25,950 is the buying price for me. So I'm going to actually it is the same. I mean, cash market. That's what, madam. The difference will be 25,950 minus 26,900. That is a profit that I'm going to make.
Okay.
That is a profit. Cash. Cash
yes,
settlement. That is a profit that I'm going to make. Correct, no, madam?
Correct, madam. Yes, madam. So finally, I think I will just help you in sorting out this. Fine. So earlier, madam was talking about the squaring of the position. Now it is done. 1,200 is the profit. Now you are entering into a buy price. So the buy price is 25,950, but earlier the profit is 1,200. So now this total net valuations which you are about to purchase will become your 27,150. So this is how about going in the short. So I think long and short position. So long position is talking about you're buying the step 1 contract and then squaring it off by selling it. And short position is vice versa. You are selling it and squaring it off. So this is happening in your futures market. Now for hedging purpose, not only in futures market, so simultaneously when you enter into your spot market, that is we're talking about your cash market, this hedging will help you to fetch the profits as well. Fine. So this is about an hedging.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Can I ask now or later?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm just winding up my session. You can just ask it. No problem.
Okay, ma'am. This is regarding the delivery settlement procedure.
Yes,
suppose let us assume that I want to take in the commodity market. I want to settle it through the delivery of a commodity. Commodity in the sense it can be cardamom. No, madam. Cardamom keys can be delivered, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How will the delivery happen? Is it that the product will be delivered at my doorstep, or I have to go to the nearby office or exchange?
And that is what, ma'am, it is mentioned in the contract. Actually, I showed you a contract, right? Who is going to take the delivery? In which warehouse it will be there? Who is going to take the delivery? Everything to be mentioned in the contract, madam. So based on that, when you enter into the contract itself, all the specification will be given. So where, in which center it will be there, which warehouse it will be there, and you are going to take the delivery, or on behalf of you, you are appointing any other agent to take up the delivery. Everything, all the terms and conditions can be discussed when you are going in for actual this compulsory delivery, madam.
Madam, one more doubt. This will be the last question. Now, it is said that when we talk about the cash settlement and the delivery settlement, if we discuss, majority of the transactions, it is a cash settlement, and delivery not many happens, is what I have heard. I do not have the first-hand information about it, but this is what I have heard. Now, this will lead to speculation, no, madam?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible. No, but if there is too much of cash settlement happening, madam, those who are wanting to go for the delivery settlement, will that not unnecessarily lead to speculation in the derivatives?
Of course, madam. Definitely, of course, madam. That is what uncertainty is associated with this delivery, derivatives, madam. So actually, in order to overcome all these things, as you said, rightly pointed out, the speculation is very high, the volatility happens, and there are chances many people will lose all these things because of this cash settlement only, madam. They are more towards it, this speculation. That is what price adverse movements, they're taking the advantage of this price adverse movements, and this is all booming up well, and this is affecting a lot.
I think, is it because of that reason that some of the staple commodities like wheat, they are all removed from the derivatives transaction? I mean, they are not part of it, rice, wheat, and all that, right?
Yes, madam.
Thank you, madam. Thanks for clarifying my doubts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.